Hello, my name's Juliana. I am a registered therapeutic counselor and a lover of the human design and the gene keys and how they merge together. I'm a seeker in my life, so I'm always looking for new ideas and new things to use on this human journey. What I love about the gene keys is that it really gives us this beautiful archetypal energy to work with that is both inside us and outside us. So we create this link, this oneness in our personal experience with what's happening in the world. So today we're going to talk about gene key 48 or gate 48. So I'll start with the human design piece and then I'll move on to the gene keys. So in the human design body graph, gate 48 is in the spleen and it corresponds with gate 16, which goes up to the throat. The traditional name is the gate of depth, and in quantum human design, it is named the gate of wisdom. In the gene keys, we look at this gene key as it's wonder in uncertainty, the wonder of uncertainty. And the shadow is inadequacy, the gift is resourcefulness. So when we think of the shadow of gene key 48, and we think of inadequacy, it's got, because everything in the spleen is about intuition, fear, survival, and health. Everything is really very related to fear. So when we think of this gene key 48, and we think of the shadow of inadequacy, what it is we're actually afraid of being inadequate. And this really translates to this dilemma that all of us have in our physical bodies, that we have developed, we've agreed to amnesia when we've incarnated onto this planet in these bodies in this lifetime. And we've forgotten that we're already higher dimensional beings. We are already incredibly magical. And this fear of inadequacy is at the root of that forgetting and the perpetuating of the forgetting of our power and natural wisdom. And what happens when we experience inadequacy is that it's really linked to our emotions, how we're feeling, and then the inability to express, communicate, or actually take responsibility for them. And this is also linked for the need for certainty, right? If we are feeling like we're inadequate, and then we don't know how to even communicate what's going on for us or take responsibility for ourselves because we're not in touch with our emotions, then we're going to want to feel certain somehow, because kind of in that place, it's like, how do you know anything if you don't know what's going on inside? And when we look at this shadow, it's looking at what we don't understand, right? Because we feel there might be this sense of feeling like not good enough. This forgetting of the fact that we already are powerful, wise, magical beings. And so when we don't understand something or someone, we develop this uncertainty, which creates this paranoia or this questioning out of fear, which then results in stories, and then we attack other people because we don't understand. Like, think of the witch hunt. Think of all of the women that, and there were men as well, that were killed because of the magic that they inherently knew. I heard this beautiful woman in, I won't be able to remember where I saw this the other day. Oh, it was a cat, the documentary on cats on Netflix. And this woman was talking about the witches. They knew how to maintain health because the cats hunted the rats, right, which would spread disease, and they used brooms um, to clean the areas because they knew cleanliness helped with health. And so that is how the broomstick and the cat, the black cat especially, has been related to witches. And so people didn't understand this, right? And so it became the witch hunt. When there were people who were so connected to something that was beyond the mundane or the limited understanding of the time, it turned into paranoia, fear, stories, and attack. So another way that this is also seen in our world is that we look for certainty, right? When we feel inadequate, we're looking for safety and certainty. And this can also be seen in our world right now as this urge to grow, this urge to create more wealth, to get more wealth, to continue growing for this illusion of certainty that then we'll be okay. But the thing is that the certainty never lasts, right? We've all heard that phrase. The only thing you can be certain about is that nothing's certain, right? And the reason that this is because we eventually find something else to fear. We eventually continue to feel inadequate about something else in our life. And so we continue and perpetuate this experience of feeling inadequate. And we can see this in our world in two ways. So you'll see this in the more repressive way, is how Richard Rudd says it, is that there are people who bury their heads in the sand of what's happening in the world, whether it's control, injustice, manipulation. And what it is that it's simply this fear to look within, address, confront, and come to face with their own fear, right? Because when we start to see injustice or manipulation or control that it outside of us, we've got to turn within to first actually acknowledge what witnessing that does inside, right? Like when we start to notice that sort of stuff outside of us, it takes a courageous soul to turn within and go, whoa, what am I afraid of? What am I noticing? What am I not noticing and choosing not to notice? This can also be seen in our world and ourselves in a reactive way, which is where we start to project our fears onto other people. And so instead of sticking your heads in the sand and avoiding turning within, it's the same idea. It's an avoidance of turning within to your own fear and avoiding it by projecting it outside and externalizing it on other people or things. And so how do we move through this, right? And like all of these fear gates or gene keys that are associated with this spleen, a lot of it is you've got to move through this. This is real shadow work when we move through our fears. And so what happens is this need to cultivate trust in your own body. Because think about it, fear is felt on a very physical level. Sure, our mind takes over and then creates stories, but fear is actually felt on a survival level in our body, in our nervous systems. And when we avoid feeling the experience of fear in our body, we go up into our head and we continue to do anything to avoid it. So to move to this gift of resourcefulness, it's a practice. Like anything in life, like most things in life, right? There's a learning and a stepping into and being in and surrounded by, and then emerging onto the other side of. And this gift of resourcefulness is really about turning in and seeing that the illusion of safety, the illusion of certainty that is outside of you is just that. It is an illusion. And that the only true certainty and the only true safety is within you and your body and your connection to your nervous system, to your breath, to your emotions. And we do this by really patiently learning to support your body, your mind, and your spirit, so that you begin to feel resourced in how to work with fear. So when we are in a lot of fear in our bodies, in our nervous systems, we don't have the resources to make deliberate and conscious decisions. When we are in fear, we forget. We can't even connect to the connection to the divine that we already are, that is available to us at any time. So we want to create resourcefulness or a tolerance to move through the fear, and we do this by our nervous system. And it's a patient practice and a courageous practice. Again, it's pure shadow work, right? To go, okay, what am I projecting outside of myself? What fears that I am feeling, I am now taking and putting on other people, places, or things? And can I take the first step, gentle step for myself to turn towards myself, put my hand on my heart and breathe and just acknowledge that I'm afraid, right? That is the beginning. That is the beginning to access this gift, to just acknowledge the fear of feeling inadequate, of feeling like you don't know enough, or of feeling like you don't understand. And when you begin that journey and you take that first step, you learn over time through your devotional practice that true safety only comes from in the moment knowing of what needs to happen next, and then what needs to happen next, and then what needs to happen next. Because this is how the nervous system works, and this is how the spleen works, right? We're so conditioned to make decisions from our head, to plan, to organize, to write pros and cons lists. And all of those things, while there is benefit to planning, right? At the end of the day, we want to come back inside. As soon as we feel fear, we want to come back inside. Am I okay right now? It's one of my favorite questions to ask when I start to feel anxious or afraid. Am I okay right now? Right? Whatever I'm afraid of. Am I afraid that someone's going to hurt me right now? Am I okay right now? Yeah. Am I afraid I'm not going to have, like, if I'm feeling fear about money, right? Can I say, am I okay right now? Yeah, I am. I have a house, I have food, right? It's a really great question to ask. So what's important is that this gift calls us out into being who we are truly meant to be in these physical bodies in this lifetime as higher dimensional beings experiencing this wild, crazy journey as human beings in an abundant and prosperous way by fully being ourselves and celebrating other people to fully be themselves. And so the work always starts in here, right? Where are you triggered by? What are you judging? Where do you feel inadequate? Where are you projecting your fear outside of you? Where are you digging your feet in the sand? That feels good. Your head in the sand, right? Where are you doing that in your life? And so inviting you, asking yourself if you're having fear around abundance, prosperity. Am I okay right now? Putting your hand on your body. When we touch our bodies in the state of fear, when we are feeling anxious, when we actually lay a hand on our body, this is sending a signal through our physical senses to our nervous system that we must be okay because we're touching our body. If something is threatening us, like a saber-toothed tiger, for example, and we have to run or fight or freeze, we're not going to take the time to touch our body. So when you can put your hand on your heart and take a breath and ask yourself the question, am I okay right now? That's going to begin this journey from inadequacy to resourcefulness. So I really hope that helped. I would love to invite you to share or like or subscribe if you like this video. I really, truly appreciate you watching. I love sharing and talking about this. So thank you so much, and have a beautiful day.